Hi everyone. So in my intro video a few weeks ago, I got into how I compress experiences of ecological islands and contrast in my watercolor maps. They're like cubist mosaics that combine multiple views of a place in a way that conveys their geographical relationships. So these experiences are both immersive and spatial at the same time. But why am I so drawn to these particular kinds of geographies in the first place, these islands and contrasts? Most of us find islands alluring because of their general quality of apartness, at least the kind of island with water around it. For me, it's a bit more specific, and specific to islands as natural features. They seem to be compressed or miniaturized, or clearer or sharper versions of natural conditions that are hard for us to grasp because they're really big or undefined. For me, unexpectedly abrupt edges around these islands slice nature up into more manageable or knowable pieces. This gives me a really empowering world at my fingertips feeling, as I like to think of it. A sense of control, basically, or omniscience. And I think this must be part of an innate urge that most of us have to figuratively slice up and give order to the natural world through mapping it or classifying it. Now, I want to acknowledge that this desire to order and slice up nature, literally and figuratively, can be problematic, both in ways that are obvious and not so obvious. And I will get into that a lot more later because it has become part of the theme of the maps as well. But for now, I'll focus on my goal to accentuate this world at my fingertips feeling by compressing these islands and sharpening these edges even more in the watercolor maps. And so basically, these watercolor mosaics are even more dramatically compressed versions of real life ecological mosaics. So I break these islands down into four general categories. In the first one, the conditions that create the island come mainly from above. So that's temperature or precipitation, though it's usually topography on the ground that compresses big continent scale climate or ecological patterns down to more human scale. So, for example, forests on mountains in deserts, or super wet, boggy zones on mountaintops in forests. And these are often actually archipelagos of many islands, or maybe they're concentric islands, like multiple vegetation types on a mountain. For me, this is the most dramatic kind of compression because you're not just slicing up nature into these ecozones. You really are squeezing what would typically be whole ecoregions or biomes, extending across hundreds of miles into zones that you can walk across in hours or even minutes. In the second kind of island, the conditions come from below, usually related to hydrology. And so this would include islands that we usually think of in bodies of water, or more precisely, according to me at least, the ecology of these islands, not just the land masses themselves. Another example would be the typical desert oasis fed by groundwater. But something like rock or soil type, technically substrate, can also create an island of a particular vegetation type. In the third case, it's land use, generally agriculture or urbanization, that's creating the island. So, an urban forest, or maybe a not so forest like landscape in a city, would be an example. And finally, the fourth category is about geology and landform rather than vegetation. And so it's kind of an outlier here. It's small volcanic cones and craters. And the reason I find these more inspirational than just regular mountains is similar to the first category with climate. Here, it's like something big, powerful, and often dangerous is being squeezed down and made accessible. And these four island types often overlap, like a volcano in the middle of a city or a mountainous oceanic island with a lot of ecological complexity, like the big island of Hawaii, for example, which is often called an island continent. So the watercolor maps are inspired by a mix of these four types of islands. And while these categories aren't particularly obscure, and I'm sure this microcosm aspect is part of the island allure for a lot of us, I haven't really come across much thinking on this world at my fingertips aspect that draws me to them. And I definitely haven't come across any other artwork or cartography with this particular goal in mind. Maybe because it doesn't apply to anyone else besides me, though I doubt that. So if this world at your fingertips feeling is something that you've thought about or it strikes a chord now that you're hearing it from me, please let me know. So there's a deeper dive into my general inspiration. Remember to find me on Substack too, and like and subscribe. And next time, I'll start getting more into the specific maps and places themselves. See you then.